Hello, this is the Growth League podcast. My name is Caleb Clark, and my mission for this show is pretty simple. It's to learn from marketers on how they're playing the great game of marketing leadership. Their ideas, experiences, perspective, wins and losses, and the playbook that they've established over time. Listen, there's more than one way to lead a marketing team and a marketing function. So if you're a VP, a CMO, director, or someone aspiring to fill one of these marketing leadership roles in the future, tune in to learn from some of the best in the business.
From a VGK perspective, we're at the top of the mountain right now. We won the Stanley Cup Championship. The targets are our back. But again, we're still preparing for what is to come because right now we have the luxury of building for the future, and if we don't capitalize on building now, again, when hypothetically a downturn is coming and we're not prepared, it's going to be a fall to our business. But we're prepared for the future, not only from the VGK side, but the entire entertainment company perspective, because, you know, in the end, the expectation is always a tier above where you're at right now, and you just got to keep getting there.
I'm here with my guest, Kris Knief from the Foley Entertainment Group. Kris, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate
Thanks,
you being
Gabe. I
here.
appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So this is all about just learning your journey as a marketing leader. You know, the things you've established over time as your process, the ways of doing things, and in some cases the things that are still left unanswered for you, or you're trying to figure out, right? And what I'm trying to prove is that a lot of different ways to play this game. So can you give us an understanding of just what's your journey been so far? What ultimately brought you to the group and as a marketer, marketing leader?
So my journey is definitely a little unconventional compared to a traditional marketing career path. My background mostly is in data analytics, technology, corporate development, new business ventures. What brought me to where I am today is a gentleman named Brian Killingsworth, who is well known around this conference. I've worked with Brian in a number of different locations, from the Tampa Bay Rays to the Tampa Bay Bucks and then ultimately the Golden Knights. I think with where we're at from a marketing perspective, we'd like to be innovative, we like to be disruptive, and you know what, in the end, I think where we're at from a VGK perspective going into Season 7 is fantastic, but there's still a lot of work to be done from a disruption standpoint moving forward.
Yeah. Tell us about the last 7 years in a nutshell.
It's been, I wouldn't call it a crawl or walk. It's been more of a sprint. We started as one principal business in the Vegas Golden Knights, launching a business from scratch, and going into Season 7 now, winning the Stanley Cup Championship and moving into more of a portfolio company instead of a single entity under Foley Entertainment Group. FEG is consistent of, we have our sports teams, we have our venue business, we have our hospitality business, and we also have our foundations. So all of that rolls up into our parent company, Foley Entertainment Group.
Nice. Has the success, very recent success of the Knights, what has that done for the rest of the group?
I think if we did not have and have had the success that we've had over the last, so let's call it 6 seasons, we would not be, I hate to say, a multi-property parent company at this point. Mr. Foley likes to acquire, likes to strategically connect all of his businesses. So the purpose of FEG is to connect all of our divisions under one parent company and ultimately cross-market, cross-promote, cross-sell, and ultimately connect Bill's enterprise in one unified manner.
Nice. I'll ask it this way about your job, your role, but what do you get paid to do?
I get paid to be an internal consultant, so any type of project from a direct-to-consumer business to launching a new business venture to evaluating what a new acquisition would look like, to building infrastructure, to finding brand strategy to bring our different brands to life. I mean, you name it, I have some probably connection to it at this point in time, but it's more of an internal consultant group that I oversee,
right.
And we're only evolving as we go forward.
Tell me about your team. What role do you play as a leader today?
Yeah, I think for me it's really setting the mission and setting the goals for the different initiatives that we need to do, not only from the macro level perspective, but from the micro level perspective. I think everybody is wired a little differently on my team, so motivation is a little different by each individual. You know, you have to know what strings to pull for certain individuals. I like to get people out of their comfort zones because I think career growth is not only getting people out of their comfort zone, it also helps on the personal side of things as well. And in the end, if you're staying status quo in your comfort zone, you're not growing. So I like to push people out of their comfort zone, but also have the respect of what I'm doing is ultimately going to help them moving forward. They might not know it at the time, but hopefully it'll only help them evolve as they go forward in their lives.
in the role you have and the mandate you're accountable for, what would you claim to be your personal superpower? What positions you best to do your thing?
I think it's more thinking outside of the box of what is to come next, not only for our industry, but for our business and how we kind of unify the approach moving forward. Because again, the sports vertical is so vastly different than hospitality versus venues versus foundations. If we're not moving forward in one parallel path with one unified vision, it's going to be tough to achieve what we ultimately want. So kind of taking a step back, number one, and thinking about the macro level perspective, but also then putting those micro level strategies into place to unify the approach. I think it's taking a step back and really looking at what we need to achieve as quickly as possible, but as strategically as possible.
That comes natural to you, that
Yep.
looking on the horizon?
I enjoy it more than anything.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
I think, because I think you got to be creative. Everything's not going to necessarily work. I like building things from scratch. I think having a thought process of maybe not now, but the future
Right.
is where you need to be as a leader, because in the end, you can always think about the now. The now is going to come to you pretty naturally, but if you're not thinking 3 to 5 years down the road and beyond that, I think you're putting the business and yourself at a disadvantage.
Yeah. What would you be comfortable enough to claim is just a big gap in your skill set? One that you embrace and understand, but are aware of.
It's a good question. I would say not even a weakness, but a gap right now is just the amount of different strategic initiatives we have to achieve day in and day out. You can't get to everything at an A+ output. Sometimes it's prioritization. I like to put everything as priority one, but again, kind of strategically putting it in prioritization is something I probably need to work on, but that's why I have my team as well. They can counterbalance everything that I need to do, because in the end, it's not just me. We're achieving this as a team, and without them, we would not be pushing the business forward.
Yeah. With all of the different verticals represented under the group, is there a common thread that you use strategically to tie them all together while still embracing their total unique?
One word: experience.
Okay.
Vegas Golden Knights, game day experience. We want to be, because we're competing with so many different businesses on the Las Vegas Strip, we want to have the best game day experience in the NHL, and that's been proven. We look at the hospitality division, we want to have a first-class experience at every single hotel, winery that we own and operate, because in the end, service is number one thing that we stride for.
Yeah.
So again, single word: experience, and in the end, there's still work to be done, but I do think we've achieved a different style of experience in one unified parallel path that FEG can stand behind and has set a standard for.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys seem pretty dialed, but there's always room for
improvement. I think, I look at it this way: we've had a lot of success, not only from the VGK perspective, but the FEG perspective.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years. From a VGK perspective, we're at the top of the mountain right now. We won a Stanley Cup championship. The targets are our back. But again, we're still preparing for what is to come, because right now we have the luxury of building for the future. And if we don't capitalize on building now, again, when hypothetically a downturn is to come and we're not prepared, it's going to be a fall to our business. But we're prepared for the future, not only from the VGK side, but the entire entertainment company perspective, because, you know, in the end, the expectation is always a tier above where you're at right now, and you just got to keep getting there.
So with the success you've had, I know VGK is one piece of this puzzle, but it represents obviously a very important one.
It's a very, very important one to our portfolio success.
So since you've established this success, do you, as a group, as a team, understand the importance now you play in the community for the people that you've been building equity with? And what does that look like?
I think, and again, I know we previously spoke about this indirectly, but we would not be in the position we are today from an FEG standpoint, or even a VGK standpoint, without the community. I think it's one unified family we have in Las Vegas on a global perspective. We've had a lot of success, but without the community, our partners, season ticket members, so on and so forth, like, we would not be in the position we are today, because again, we look at it as one unified family in Vegas. They didn't have to adopt us in season one. We were an expansion team in the middle of a desert. market wasn't supposed to adopt us, and in the end, I think after 6 seasons, we would not be here without them. But I mean, they've been great from day one. We built our fan base traditionally around locals instead of tourists.
Okay.
So we wanted to build that foundation and firm foundation in Vegas to make sure that we were Vegas born and we're not a transplant.
Right. A lot of people don't realize that there's life outside the Strip, right? There's real people that
there is a very fun, large, and excited community outside of the Las Vegas Strip. I come from the East Coast. I equate the Las Vegas Strip aspects of it to Times Square. Yeah. You think you go to Vegas, it's only the Strip. There's beautiful communities 15, 20 minutes outside of the Strip that great people live, and they love Las Vegas. I love living in Las Vegas, but you know what? In the end, people have the connotation of solely the Strip, and it's completely false.
Yeah. So in your role, it demands a lot of energy and passion and all these things. And a lot of times they don't just get created out of nowhere. Can you tell us a little bit about who is Kris outside of the role? Like what fills you up?
I think the biggest thing the biggest takeaway is I'm so self-driven to achieve something that probably has not been achieved to date. I'd like to set a new standard. If that's first mover advantage, great. There's always pros and cons to that. But trying to be as creative, as innovative, as disruptive as possible in order to grow the fan base, number one, or just grow our consumer base across the different verticals, but also be the first to market and achieve something that, you know what, people say, you guys can't do that. I love somebody telling me and my team that you guys cannot do this, and us proving them wrong in a timely fashion.
Is that a culture, it's important to you from a personal standpoint, is that a culture that has started to create itself amongst your team, this like, dare me?
I like to challenge our team with challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
In the end, if you've done something well, there's always a next level of enhancement. And I think it's taken a little time for them to get there, but they are finally there because now they're challenging me to think a little differently.
Yeah.
And it's more of a collaborative approach at this point in time, which, again, collaboration is stronger because in the end, you're going to have a stronger output instead of a single-minded opinion one way or another. So,
Totally.
Again, multiple opinions always create a stronger output.
Totally. Do you have any mechanisms in place, whether they're formal and data-backed or more of a feeling that allows you, when you're driving home from work, to be able to determine with a high level of certainty that whether or not you did a good job?
I am a numbers person.
Okay.
I go off the data. So I'm probably 95% data, 5% gut.
Okay.
In the end, the numbers don't lie one way or another. You always have gut feelings on certain things, but again, I relied, I hate to say it, historically on numbers. That's just how I'm wired. But again, the numbers don't lie, good, bad, or indifferent. You're going to know where you stand. But again, I think you have your quantifiable piece, you have your qualitative piece too. It's got to be a balance.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to play this game, and even in the role that you are in. How do you quiet some of the noise around, hey, you ought to be doing it this way, you ought to be doing it that way, you're doing it wrong, you're not good at what you're...
I think this has come very naturally to me because, again, I've been told many, many years ago that I would never make it in this business or this industry or get to where I am today. I'm still decently young in the big picture of a career. Again, I enjoy challenging the naysayers because in the end, you know what, you want to prove them wrong, number one, but again, we're always trying to do things very differently in Vegas with a little Vegas flair. Like I said before, being first to market on certain things is traditionally great, but there's pros and cons to that depending on who you ask. But just, I hate to say it, taking the challenge on and seeing what you can achieve, because again, you don't know what the next thing is that's going to change your business model unless you actually challenge yourself to go achieve it.
Yeah. I get the sense, just talking to you for 13 minutes, that you care deeply about what you guys are endeavoring to do. There's an inner drive on it. But why specifically for the group do you care? Like, why do you care about your job?
I want to set Bill's businesses completely apart from anything that's been done to date in the sports and entertainment industry. I'd like to connect all the consumers that we have because, again, the large consumer base we have right now is a little disparate from sports to hospitality to venues.
Right.
We need to connect that because, again,
1 + 1 = 3.
Exactly. And in the end, it's a more powerful approach moving forward, and that's what we want to achieve. But again, where we're at right now is not where we're going to be even 8 to 12 months from now, but setting our businesses completely apart, not only from anything that we have in Las Vegas, but we want to be known as a global brand.
Yeah.
Specifically, if you want to go back to VGK, we want to be a lifestyle brand. I mean, one championship is not going to do that. We need multiple. But again, achieving from a lifestyle perspective what the Lakers and the Yankees have, we're only at the tip of the iceberg, and we still have a long ways to go.
Which makes it fun. It's a worthy cause.
There's always more to come.
Yeah.
I think if you hit your ceiling quickly, you get bored, and it's that common business cycle year in and year out. Every day is so vastly different for me and my group.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's one day it's looking at a new business, next day is building infrastructure, next day is, I hate to say it, building reporting that ultimately our leaders need. And in the end, you know what? I enjoy it because I get bored after a while if it's the same thing day in and day out. And diversification is key, not only for my growth, but our group's growth.
Yeah. What were you doing right before the group when you started there?
So I started at solely VGK. Previously to that, I was with the New York Yankees.
Okay.
It was more technology, email marketing, new business ventures.
Yeah.
I got a call out of the blue one day from Brian Killingsworth and our old chief sales officer, Jim Fola.
Okay.
And
how long ago was that?
that was, inaugural season, so 17.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so I've been here. I've been in Vegas since almost the beginning. I started January of year one, so I've seen the growth from one principal business to the entertainment group and our other entities, such as our AHL team. We have an IFL team. We have a whole secondary venue, sister venue in Henderson. It's been fantastic to grow and diversify. But again, where we're at right now is not where we're going to be. We have a foundation, but now we're building the blocks up instead of out.
That's exciting. Is anything that comes to mind if you were to reverse history 7 years back and that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
I look at it this way, so I love that question. I would not be in the position I am today without taking that job 7 years ago. Okay. The one thing I do look at is I wish I had a firmer foundation in terms of portfolio viewpoint instead of single entity, because I think it would help me in my current role. But in the end, I don't have any qualms with my career path to date, because in the end, it's very diverse. It's very different from anything I've seen around the industry. And I hate to say it, it's not the end or even close to the end. It's only helping me build go forward.
When you talk about you've never seen anything like it, it's different. Does the difference lie in the variety of the portfolio and its interconnectedness, or what's different?
I think it's just the path I took, because it was general marketing, then it was technology, then it was data, then it was new ventures. Like it all has culminated into the role I have now, and that's going to build the foundation for whatever comes next whenever that time comes, because in the end, a lot of traditional sports is solely marketing, solely ticket sales. Just the diversification of the different responsibilities I've had in a very short period of time has led to where I am right now. But like I said, it's only going to help me moving forward.
So when you look at your customer segments, they would no doubt bridge multiple verticals within your offering. How do you zoom out, and do you look at it as an overall customer value journey across the verticals, or do you keep them compartmentalized?
So we look at it both ways. So we have our overarching FEG value of the customer, but then we have our single entity focus, because the VGK consumer, from argument's sake, is different than our HSK consumer.
Right.
NHL, AHL, different. Our VGK consumer is vastly different than what we do from the hospitality side. And again, the VGK consumer is still very different from what we do from even a community center venue standpoint. Again, there's a little more crossover there from a customer lifetime value perspective, which has probably the most organic tentacle, but everyone is vastly different. And again, we look at them all in one comprehensive viewpoint, but also disparate entity focused as well.
Do you have any idea where this, because if I was on your team, I'd want to kind of run through a brick wall right now. You feel like very let's go. Do you have any idea where that came from? Is there some inspiration back in the day? Or?
I think it was many years ago. I was told by many different people that you would not be successful. You would not be where you are. You're not going to make it. I like proving people wrong one way or another. Again, I have no hard feelings against them, but again, proving them wrong and achieving something that you know what, is first the market. It's something that I wholeheartedly stand behind, because again, it's not just me. It's for our business.
Yeah.
Again, I'll lead it in conjunction with my team, but it's for our business.
Yeah. Okay. How have you and your team been able to facilitate integration of the work you're doing across different departments and stakeholders, of whom you need not only understanding of what you're doing, but some active buy-in and co-creation?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a fantastic question, because again, buy-in is key. Again, you have to have small wins in order to have buy-in, and if you don't have those small wins, you're not going to get general buy-in. So again, general reporting is probably the low barrier of entry when it comes to breaking down the barriers with our executive team specifically. Again, I was there many years ago, but again, I think if you're not showing value from a ticketing perspective to partnerships to community, so on and so forth, and what this group can and will do for you to make you guys more intelligent or make our team more intelligent, it's a disadvantage. So again, it's some individuals are harder to convince, and that takes more time. But in the end, the small wins over time lead to bigger wins, and that breaks down the walls in the end, and it creates that one unified approach as we go forward.
That's awesome. So when you kind of close your eyes and think about the group in the next year to 5 years, what are some of the things that come into vivid clarity for you? And what has to happen for that to manifest?
So I think in order to achieve where we want to be, infrastructure and connectivity are two words that come directly to mind. Again, that all comes with investment, number one, but two, we need to have clean data in order to make strategic decisions in order to push the entertainment company forward. What I want to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years, I'm not probably at liberty to say just yet, but I want to have as much cohesion as possible and as much connectivity as possible, because again, it's a very inorganic and diversified portfolio. We want to make it a very diversified portfolio, but a very organic approach moving forward.
Gotcha. Within the mix of what you guys are working on, what's one area that gives you a little bit of pain when you think about it, because you know it needs to be dramatically better than it is, as compared to what's the other thing that you're like, if I had a bag full of endless cash, I would just double down on it?
Infrastructure.
Okay, tell me more.
I think if you don't have the right tools to collect what you necessarily need, you're not going to be able to have the specific outputs that you need to make strategic business decisions. In the end, we sprinted as one principal business in VGK for 6 years. Now we are a multi-property entertainment group. That is so vastly different than what a single entity from an infrastructure perspective needs day in and out to be operational and successful. So again, taking a step back and looking at all of the different entities that fall under FEG and what they necessarily need, but how do we kind of unify our back-end source systems to create the stronger outputs in a more condensed economies of scale perspective.
Yeah. What do you personally take from an event like this, an experience, or what maybe has surprised you to learn, or what was your intention coming in?
I think the biggest thing I've taken is the people. Again, I'm not a traditional marketing individual by any means. I think understanding different corporations, companies, small, mid-sized businesses, everybody has a different approach. I'd like to take different aspects of the various approaches because, again, we have small businesses, we have mid-sized, and we have large businesses. In the end, we have to understand what those mean, and getting different perspectives from people outside of our building will only help us as we go forward. So just collaborating, understanding, and taking tidbits away that we can evaluate as we go back. In the end, where we are now is not where we want to be, but again, collaboration with key industry leaders and individuals here at the gathering are only going to make us stronger as we go forward.
Yeah. The work or the things that you've accomplished as a group, I would imagine, you can validate this, that whether or not you even make it through one round of the playoffs, VGK, there's enough equity built, do you think, to keep at least the strategy that you're planning on to keep that moving forward, or does it all hinge on another cup?
Well, in the end, I mean, we want to win another cup. Yeah. One is great, that's not the end goal, but one is fantastic, it's better than zero.
Yeah.
The equity, from let's just call it a playoff perspective to start.
Okay.
You can be out in a very snap of your fingers first round exit, or you can get to the final and lose. We've done that as well in our inaugural season. When you're in that moment of time, it could be a week, it could be 2 months.
Yeah.
You want to capture as much value as possible, consumer, brand, partners, because in the end we capture the magic behind what it means, not only for us, but the city and everybody that's integrated with our business.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, it's a disadvantage. And you're trying to unify everything together in a more sprint style.
Yeah.
But in the end, everyone plays a valuable part to what a playoff run means. And hopefully we'll have another magical playoff run this season.
Hopefully. Well, I'm a Flames guy, but so hopefully you have
That's
experience.
all right.
But
I'll give you a pass.
yeah. So it's going to be interesting because later today I'm talking with Catherine from Columbus Blue Jackets, and they have to take a totally different approach.
I've gotten to know Catherine pretty well over the last couple of days. Completely different approach in Columbus versus what we have in Vegas.
Yeah. Now, have you personally turned into a hockey fan, or were you before? Or?
So I was a hockey fan. I grew up a New York Rangers fan, being from the East Coast.
Yeah.
I am a very diehard Vegas Golden Knights fan now.
Of course.
I like to say my West Coast allegiance and primary allegiance is VGK, but I'll always have a special spot in my heart for the New York Rangers.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's, you guys are on a bullet train, and it's
not done yet.
And it seems like you are, that is enjoyment for you.
It's enjoyment, but again, where we're at right now is, it's great. It's a lot of people would love to be in the position we are, but again, we're in a position to achieve something else. And you know what? That's where our mindset is at right now.
Awesome. Everyone, my guest, Kris Knief, thank you so much.
Thank you.